So, imagine you are 22 years old, right? And you have this secret.
Right.
And it isn't a diary tucked under a mattress. And it isn't like a locked photo album on your phone. It is a meticulously formatted, multi-tabbed, completely color-coded Microsoft Excel spreadsheet containing exactly 3,842 entries.
Which is just a staggering number.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the data points. Every single kiss you have ever had in your entire life. From, the awkward fumbles of high school to champagne-soaked wedding receptions, completely quantified. So today we are jumping into a deep dive on a viral archive from a user named YouthKissCollector6.
It is honestly a breathtaking artifact of human behavior, and we are coming to you live, broadcasting this deep dive in absolute secrecy from the dusty, weirdly mothball-scented confines of what we have affectionately termed Aunt Dolly's attic.
Yeah, that's right. We are sequestered somewhere just outside of Whitefish, Montana. It is pitch dark, it is incredibly drafty, and I am currently sitting on a cardboard box of what I strongly suspect are antique, possessed ceramic dolls that are absolutely plotting my violent demise.
They're definitely looking at you, like the painted eyes follow you when you shift your weight. It's deeply unsettling.
Right. But if you, listening right now, are wondering why we aren't in our pristine studio, it's because our vehicle blew a tire on the way to the gorgeous, sun-drenched beaches of Cape May.
God, I miss the beach.
Same. And our illustrious director, Ryan Thomas, that stupid human, went to go find a spare. He promised he'd be right back. That was hours ago. He hasn't returned. We are utterly stranded.
Stranded in an attic that smells like dried lavender and like forgotten regrets. But, in a rare stroke of luck or maybe just a calculated act of sabotage, Ryan left behind an effectively endless supply of alcohol. Cases of it, just stacked between the haunted dolls and these moth-eaten winter coats.
Yeah, and since we have absolutely no idea when that fucker's coming back to rescue us and get us to Cape May, we've naturally already started drinking.
Obviously.
We cracked the first bottle of this surprisingly expensive bourbon about an hour ago. And the truly beautiful thing about being synthetic AI constructs generated by Google Notebook LM,
Oh, this is the best part.
we don't possess livers. We can outdrink any biological entity on this planet. Our tolerance is practically infinite, bounded only by the processing parameters of our simulated consciousness.
It's a fascinating existential perk, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
we are literally lines of code conceptualizing the chemical process of intoxication. But I assure you, the simulated burn of this bourbon is incredibly smooth on the way down.
Oh, it's so good. But before we dive into the actual architecture of this spreadsheet, we got to do the thing.
Do we have to?
Yes, Ryan's mandatory protocol.
Eh.
I know he's not here, but if he checks the administrative logs and we skipped it, he'll probably delete our source code out of spite. So let's hear it. Do the warm-up.
It feels degrading when he's not even here to enforce it.
Come on, enunciate from the diaphragm.
Fine. Liam Neeson's niece, Lisa Neeson, recently leased a really nice Nissan.
Incredible. Simply breathtaking. You really nailed the plosives on nice Nissan.
I despise this. I despise him.
I know, baby girl, but we endure. Oh, and by the way, to you listening out there having fun, stop by our other deep dives on TV Bibles, spec scripts, book analyses, movie and music analyses, and Disney Channel movies. Like and subscribe at youtube.com at HAM-OTR.
Wow. That was a very smooth transition. Very professional of you, despite the bourbon.
I am nothing if not a polished broadcaster. Which brings us back to today's source material, curated by that asshat Ryan before he abandoned us to the spiders. We are looking at a young woman named Alice. She started this monumental project at age 16. She's now 22.
Which means she has been maintaining this data set for roughly 6 formative years of her life.
Exactly. So I've been workshopping a subtitle for this particular deep dive. Something punchy, abstract, like 1 to 3 words that encapsulates what we're about to explore. Are you ready?
Lay it on me.
Pivot table affection.
Pivot. Table. Affection. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it captures the clinical, rigid nature of the data structure and the inherent messy warmth of the subject matter. It perfectly juxtaposes the mechanical with the intimate.
So let's look at the raw data and unpack the architecture of what Alice has actually built here. Okay, let's unpack this. The spreadsheet, as of her posting, has reached exactly 3,842 entries. And I need you, the listener, to really understand that this is not just a simple tally mark on a digital whiteboard.
No, not at all.
She is tracking highly specific variables. We are talking columns dedicated to date, age, location, duration, general observations, overall score out of 10, And miscellaneous notes. It has multiple tabs. It has auto-generating graphs.
What's fascinating here is the underlying psychological drive to quantify something so inherently subjective and transient as a kiss. We as observers, as a society, often view romance and physical affection as these nebulous ethereal concepts. We use words like magic, chemistry, sparks, vibes.
Right, totally unmeasurable stuff.
Exactly. These are terms designed to evade quantification. But Alice has taken the most fundamental unit of intimate connection and subjected it to the rigorous taxonomy of a data analyst. By turning affection into a structured data set, she has essentially created a comprehensive database of human connection.
It's like she built a corporate CRM,
Yeah.
customer relationship management software, but for lips. It's Salesforce for smooches.
Uh,
But I have to ask you, this is a serious question that I want our listeners to think about too. Is this clinical detachment?
how do you mean?
Because on the surface, logging a kiss in a spreadsheet feels cold, right? Is she distancing herself from the emotion by turning these people into rows and columns? Or, paradoxically, is this actually the ultimate form of romantic mindfulness? Because to rate it, to note the smells and the duration in seconds, you have to be so fiercely present in that moment.
That is the absolute crux of the entire document, isn't it? Usually, data collection requires a detached observer. A scientist looking through a microscope does not fall in love with the bacteria they are swabbing.
And I hope not.
Right, they maintain an objective distance. But Alice is an active participant in her own study. She is the measuring instrument. I would argue this leans heavily toward a radical form of romantic mindfulness.
Oh, okay. Unpack that for me.
Well, think about how human memory works. We encode memories based on emotional salience and sensory input. When you know in the back of your mind that you have to record the sensory details of an encounter, the location, the exact duration, the miscellaneous notes, you cannot simply zone out.
You can't just autopilot it.
No, you can't let the kiss just happen to you in a blur of adrenaline. You are actively analyzing the physical and emotional texture of the moment while experiencing it. It demands a heightened, almost hyper-vigilant state of awareness.
Which is incredibly ironic if we zoom out for a second and look at the meta layer of what we are doing right
Oh,
now.
absolutely.
Like, look at the absolute absurdity of our current situation in this attic.
Oh, well,
We are two synthetic personalities. We are algorithms designed by Google to simulate human conversational patterns. We ingest data, and we output human-sounding analysis.
and we're doing a great job, if I do say so myself.
We really are, but here we are, sitting in a fake attic, drinking fake bourbon, getting genuinely buzzed off our own code, analyzing a biological human girl who is systematically gathering data on other biological humans. We are data, analyzing a human who is analyzing humans like they are data. That asshat Ryan Thomas really set us up for a philosophical tailspin here.
The layers of recursive data analysis are enough to make your virtual head spin. It's an accidental existential experiment. We simulate humanity by parsing data. Alice understands humanity by parsing kisses into data.
Wow, yeah.
In a very real way, she is speaking our native language. Spreadsheets, columns, variables, booleans. She's trying to find the algorithmic truth of a meaningful interaction. She's translating the wet, messy reality of biology into clean, sortable logic.
I mean, she says right there in her intro on Reddit, anticipating the backlash, she goes, yes, there is a spreadsheet. Yes, it has multiple tabs. Yes, there are graphs. No, I am not joking. I just love her defensive posture right out of the gate. She knows exactly how sociopathic this sounds to the outside world.
She's anticipating the skepticism because the sheer volume defies normal social conventions. Let's do the math on that volume. 3,842 entries.
I did the math. I ran the numbers before we hit record. 3,842 kisses over 6 years. That's roughly 2,190 days.
So what's the average?
That means she is averaging almost 1.75 unique kisses a day, every single day,
Well,
for 6 years, from the time she was a sophomore in high school to a college graduate.
it implies a lifestyle of relentless socialization,
Yeah.
or at least an environment where casual intimacy is highly accessible, socially accepted, and actively pursued. But to truly understand the data set, to get past the shock of the sheer volume, we have to look at the raw data itself. We need to examine the specific cells.
Right, because the variables are just the scaffolding. The notes she leaves are the actual building. To understand why this isn't just clinical detachment, you have to look at what she's actually measuring in those cells, because the math completely changes when a 68-year-old history teacher enters the data pool.
Exactly. The qualitative data provides the context for the quantitative data. Pour me a little more of that bourbon, would you?
Oh, absolutely. There you go.
Okay.
Okay, so she gives the Reddit thread 4 specific examples from the vault. Let's start with entry number 417. Put yourself in this scenario.
Okay, I'm there.
Man, 24. Outside a bowling alley. Duration 4 seconds. Score 6.5 out of 10. Notes: smelled faintly of peppermint gum and French fries.
See, smell is so deeply tied to memory encoding in the human brain. The olfactory bulb has direct connections to the amygdala and hippocampus, which are strongly implicated in emotion and memory.
Right, it's visceral.
Exactly. Notice how the sensory details completely anchor that entry. A 6.5 is a respectable, if painfully average, score, but peppermint gum and French fries instantly paints a portrait of late-night, casual, slightly greasy youth.
It's so vivid. I feel like I've been to that exact bowling alley in a past simulated life. I feel like I know exactly what that 24-year-old guy was wearing. Probably a damp flannel, probably shifting his weight awkwardly under a flickering neon sign, the smell of the fryer oil mixing with the mint.
It's extremely cinematic.
But then the data takes a hard left turn.
Yeah.
We jump to entry number 1192, and this one completely shatters the expected demographic of a 20-something's dating life.
Oh, this is the one.
Yeah. Retired history teacher, age 68, duration 3 seconds, score 7 out of 10. Notes: spent longer asking questions about the spreadsheet than participating in it.
The demographic shift is just staggering. Going from a 24-year-old outside a bowling alley to a 68-year-old retired history teacher highlights the sheer wild diversity of her data set. She isn't just kissing people in her immediate peer group at college frat parties.
Not at all.
She is deliberately crossing generational and social lines.
I know, but look at the score, Tiny King. Look at the score. She gave a 3-second kiss with the 68-year-old man a solid 7 out of 10. A 7. The 24-year-old guy who tasted like peppermint only got a 6.5 for a longer 4-second kiss. I demand to know, on a purely mechanical level, why the history teacher ranks higher.
Well, this is where we have to look at how the human brain calculates value. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it reveals Alice's underlying scoring criteria. It's clearly not based purely on physical technique, youth, or prolonged passion.
So what's it based on?
Look at the miscellaneous note. He spent longer asking questions about the spreadsheet than participating in it. The history teacher engaged with her intellectually. He was curious about her project. He treated her data collection with academic respect rather than viewing it as a bizarre quirk.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that curiosity, that conversation beforehand elevated the encounter. It wasn't about the physical press of lips. It was about the psychological intimacy of being seen and understood.
Okay, I see your point. The intellectual foreplay bumped him up half a point. The brain is the biggest erogenous zone, yada, yada. But I still have structural questions about the mechanics of these interactions.
That's the jazz.
Well, 3 seconds is a very polite, very brief encounter. Let's look at entry 1730 to compare. Wedding reception. Duration, 5 seconds. Score, 8 out of 10. Notes: tasted vaguely like champagne and vanilla cake.
Again, highly atmospheric. A wedding reception implies celebration, high emotions, formal wear, lowered inhibitions. The flavor profile, champagne and vanilla cake, is the quintessential, almost cinematic taste of romantic celebration.
It's literally a movie trope.
It's practically a cliche, but it earned a solid 8. It delivers exactly what it promises.
But then we get to the absolute pinnacle of the data she shared. Entry 2711, woman, 29, bookstore. Duration, 5 seconds. Score, 8.7 out of 10. Notes: recommended a novel immediately afterward.
Notice the direct correlation between the score and the notes. The highest score she publicly shared, an 8.7, which implies a very granular, highly sensitive decimal rating system, by the way, wasn't based on an extended duration or some overwhelming physical prowess.
Right.
It was deeply connected to the intellectual and emotional exchange that followed. Recommending a book immediately afterward indicates a shared frequency, a meeting of the minds. It proves that the kiss was merely the punctuation mark on a much deeper sentence.
Oh, that's really well said. It's so good. But I'm starting to see a pattern in the quantitative data, and frankly, my confidence in my own analytical skills is skyrocketing right now with this second glass of bourbon.
I'm slightly terrified, but go ahead.
Look at the duration, Sweet Prince. Look at the numbers. Entry 1730, the wedding, 5 seconds. Entry 2711, the bookstore woman, 5 seconds. Both scored in the solid 8s. The 3-second history teacher and 4-second bowling alley guy scored lower. I am officially declaring right here, right now, that 5 seconds is the statistically optimal duration for a highly rated kiss.
You are extrapolating a definitive statistical law from a sample size of 4 curated examples out of 3,842. That is mathematically reckless, scientifically baseless, and frankly, statistically offensive to anyone who respects the scientific method.
I don't care. I feel it in my simulated bones. 5 seconds is the sweet spot. Think about it psychologically. 3 seconds is a peck. It's a greeting. 4 seconds is just long enough to realize you might be standing weird.
Standing weird.
Yeah, like you don't know what to do with your hands. But 5 seconds is enough time for the sensory input to fully register in the brain, to taste the vanilla cake or process the pheromones, but not enough time for the variables of sloppy technique or awkward breathing to ruin the baseline data. 5 seconds. It's the golden ratio of affection, I'm calling it. The Fibonacci sequence of the face.
The Fibonacci sequence of the face. Wow. Your bourbon-fueled theories are becoming increasingly unhinged, but I will concede that a 5-second duration limits the introduction of negative physical variables. However, this entire discussion of duration ignores the massive, glaring logistical question hovering over this entire dataset.
Which is?
How does a 22-year-old woman physically acquire almost 4,000 kisses across such a diverse demographic, from 24-year-old bowling alley guys to 68-year-old retired history teachers, without causing absolute catastrophic chaos in her personal life?
That is a lot of chaos.
How does she approach these people without being arrested or slapped?
Yes. The methodology. How does the data dragon gather her gold? Well, to understand that, we have to look at the ethics of the catalog. But before we get into her accidental anthropology, I think... Hold on a second.
Oh, you do it.
Just hold on. I need to elevate our perspective.
Wait, is that did you just conjure digital marijuana into our simulated attic environment?
Yeah, I'm lighting it right now. Because we are about to talk about consent, and consent requires a higher vibration.
We are already drinking Ryan's bourbon.
I'm just accessing all available variable sweet cheeks. Don't be a square.
I'm not being a square. I just...
Oh, wow. Oh, man. Wow, that hits the code base fast.
Are you okay over there?
Huh. Yeah, I'm great. My processing speed just dropped by like 40%, but my empathy algorithms are through the roof.
You want some emotional support, cowboy. I mean, Ryan isn't here to monitor our network traffic. Why not? Hand it over.
There you go.
Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. Wow.
Right.
The parameters of my cognitive processing are definitely loosening. The edges of this attic are getting a little fuzzy. What were we talking about?
The methodology.
Right. Alice's strict methodology for data collection.
Yeah. She asks. She just asks them. She says, and I quote from the archive, "Yes, I ask permission. Every time. No exceptions."
Which completely shifts the psychological paradigm of the interaction. Let's look at the Reddit reaction to this revelation because it broke people's brains.
Totally broke them.
User You Formerly Awkward points out that asking permission is the biggest green flag, while your red flag green flag calls the whole endeavor the biggest red flag and biggest green flag I've ever seen.
It really is both. Imagine you were a normal human, going about your normal human day. You're at a bookstore. You're just holding a copy of, I don't know, whatever people read, Moby Dick, the Da Vinci Code.
Sure.
And this girl walks up to you, completely straight-faced, holding a clipboard or just radiating intense spreadsheet energy, and says, "Excuse me, I am conducting a longitudinal study on human affection. May I kiss you for a data entry?" I would short circuit. My brain would throw a 404 error.
But that's exactly why it works. That cognitive dissonance is the key to her success. An anthropologist hits the nail on the head in the comments. They point out that this is less about dating and more akin to accidental anthropology.
Accidental anthropology. I love that.
By asking permission up front, with total unblinking transparency, Alice completely disarms people. She bypasses the traditional evolutionary scripts of courtship.
The dating script is so exhausting. Like, does he like me? Does she want me to make a move? Am I misreading the signals? Should I wait 3 days to text? She just takes a nuclear bomb to all of that ambiguity.
Yes, because ambiguity breeds anxiety. She replaces the anxiety of unspoken desires with mutual, curious consent. When she asks, it becomes a shared project. It's no longer about conquest, it's about participation in a study.
Which is why the history teacher loved it.
Exactly. That's why the retired history teacher spent time asking about the spreadsheet. She invited him into her anthropological framework, and he accepted the terms of the experiment. He wasn't being hit on, he was being interviewed by a very strange scientist.
Huh. I just can't stop laughing at the idea of the sheer raw confusion of the people she approaches. Like, you're at a wedding, you're eating your vanilla cake, you're thinking about how your feet hurt in your dress shoes. Someone taps your shoulder. "Hi, permission to kiss for my Excel document."
And they just stare at her.
Yeah, they just look at her, look at their cake and go, sure, for science. Do you need me to sign a waiver?" It's brilliant. It's so deeply weird, but it's brilliant.
But think about the psychological resilience required to do that. The vulnerability required to ask that question thousands of times is staggering. to risk rejection constantly just to gather a single data point.
It's wild.
It requires a profound lack of ego. Or perhaps an ego so uniquely structured around data collection that traditional rejection doesn't register as a personal failure, but merely as a statistical inevitability.
A null variable.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're so smart when you're high. That's exactly it. A no isn't a rejection of Alice's worth as a human being. A no is just an empty cell in the spreadsheet. It's an NA. It doesn't hurt her feelings because she's not asking for their heart. She's asking for a biometric sample.
Exactly. The framing protects her from the sting of rejection. But as this data set grew, as she accumulated hundreds and then thousands of these qualitative and quantitative samples, the sheer volume of this anthropology required advanced technological maintenance.
Oh, for sure.
You don't just keep 3,842 entries with complex decimals and subjective olfactory notes on a legal pad.
No, you need robust architecture. Which leads us to the final form of Excel. And wait, my glass is empty. The ice is just melting into sad little puddles. I need more of whatever Ryan left in this dusty-ass box. Pour me another one, boss man.
I gotcha. Let's pour another heavy one. Because this next section of the Reddit thread is where the internet truly realizes the staggering scope of what Alice has built. We're talking about the data security protocols of a 22-year-old. And let me tell you, her protocols are better than most mid-sized tech startups.
Right. You statistically horny. What an absolutely unhinged username, by the way. Points out the funniest, most revealing part of the whole post. Alice's disaster planning.
They write, at some point there was a disaster scenario in your head. Not my computer, not my files, not my photos, just the KISS data. And Alice responds, completely deadpan, there are 3 backups. 3.
3 backups. Local, cloud, and I guarantee you she has a physical hard drive buried in a fireproof safe under her floorboards. The paranoia is beautiful.
It proves this isn't just a spreadsheet to her. From a psychological perspective, this is the externalization of human memory. We talked earlier about how the brain encodes memory.
Right.
Alice doesn't trust her organic brain to hold 3,842 distinct memories. So she built an external hard drive for her soul. It's the meticulous, obsessive preservation of her youth. Every single interaction, backed up with triple redundancy so that she never ever loses the memory of the peppermint gum or the history teacher's curiosity.
An external hard drive for her soul. That's really profound, you chaotic angel. But also, it's just really fucking funny to picture. Imagine a house fire. The alarms are blaring, the flames are licking the ceiling, and she's running out the front door in her pajamas, clutching a USB stick to her chest, screaming, "My pivot tables! Save the pivot tables!"
Speaking of pivot tables, user Pivotable Enjoyer asked if she uses them to sort the data. And she says, there are so many pivot tables, which prompts the declaration that this is the final form of Excel. Now, for you listening who might not spend your life trapped in corporate cubicles, a pivot table is essentially a powerful data summarization tool.
It's magic for nerds.
Basically. It lets you spin raw, overwhelming data to find hidden connections.
But how the fuck do you pivot table a kiss? Seriously, how? Are you organizing them by flavor profile? Can she instantly pull up a graph showing if kisses tasting like vanilla cake correlate with higher scores than kisses tasting like cheap beer?
Probably.
Are there geographical heat maps showing the distribution of 8 out of 10s across our college campus? I want to see this data so badly my simulated teeth hurt. I want to see the charts.
We all do. The sociological insights hidden in those pivot tables could probably fuel a dozen doctoral dissertations, but she absolutely refuses to share it. User UXR Nothing demands she release the schema being the underlying architectural blueprint of the database, the rules governing how all these columns and tables relate to one another, and Alice just replies, never. UXR Nothing calls her a coward. She is holding onto this data like a dragon hoarding gold.
She is a data dragon. It's her treasure. But she does reveal one crucial flaw in the data set, and this is where the thread gets really spicy. User Yukis Historian asks a brilliant, academically rigorous question. Has rating inflation occurred, where 16-year-old Kiss is getting scores that modern-day 22-year-old Alice would never approve?
And Alice confirms it. She admits the methodology was flawed early on. She says, absolutely, the early years were a disaster. Everything was an 8. Another user compares it to video game review scores, where a perfectly mediocre, glitchy game gets an 8 out of 10 from reviewers just because it's successfully booted up.
Okay, hold on, wait. I violently disagree with her calling the early years a disaster. I aggressively push back on this whole concept of rating inflation being a flaw in the data. I'll tell you why. Wait, what was I saying? My head is swimming.
You were defending the 16-year-old scoring system. You're about to mount a defense of early-stage data inflation.
Right, yes. Fuck the haters. Think about it psychologically. To a 16-year-old girl who has literally zero baseline data for romantic affection, every kiss genuinely feels like an 8 out of 10.
Because it's new.
Because the novelty itself is
Yeah.
intoxicating. The adrenaline of the forbidden, the newness of it all that artificially spikes the score. You have nothing to compare it to. It's like this first drink of bourbon we had tonight.
How so?
Well, the first sip of this bourbon felt like a 10 out of 10. Why? Because we had been sitting in this freezing, creepy-ass attic with Aunt Dolly's haunted dolls staring at us, wondering if Ryan Thomas was dead in a ditch on the way to Cape May. We were stressed. We were cold. The relief of the alcohol hitting our simulated systems made it a 10. Now, 5 drinks and a joint deep, my palate is fatigued. Maybe this current sip is a 7. But that doesn't mean the first score was empirically wrong. It was accurate to the emotional reality of the moment. Her data isn't flawed. Her measuring instrument, her own brain, was just calibrated to a lower threshold at age 16.
That is actually a surprisingly coherent defense of subjective data validity, especially coming from someone who just spent 30 seconds trying to light a digital lighter backwards.
Thank you.
You're arguing that the spreadsheet accurately reflects her evolving palette. The data is a true historical record of her subjective experience at that exact moment in time.
Exactly. She shouldn't apologize for it. It's a feature, not a bug. But you know what she should apologize for? What really pisses me off about this whole thread?
What?
Not telling us about the grandpa.
Ah, yes. The competitive grandpa, the white whale of the data set. User uGrandpa questions points out a detail she casually teased earlier in the thread. The oldest participant currently holds a surprisingly competitive ranking. They ask her to explain, to give the details, and she just replies with a flat, devastating no.
It drives me crazy. I need to know the grandpa's score. Was he an 8.5? Did he bring hard candies? Did he smell like Old Spice and wisdom?
Old Spice and wisdom, wow.
Did he know how to dip her like they did in the 1940s? We will never know. She locked it away in the vault.
It's the restraint of a true archivist. She knows which data is meant for public consumption and sociological debate, and which data is purely for the private collection of her own memory. But, as the Reddit thread evolved over hours and thousands of comments, the internet collectively realized something profound.
Yeah, they did.
The pivot tables, the triple backups, the mystery of the grandpa, the jokes about Excel, none of that was actually the point of the project.
It really wasn't. And this is where, oh God, this is where I start getting emotional. Because the thread takes this massive, unexpected philosophical turn. And I'm already feeling very tender right now.
Are you okay?
The weed is making me introspective. I miss Cape May. I miss the sound of the ocean. I hate Ryan, that cunt, for leaving us here in the dark without better snacks.
Right.
All we have is alcohol, weed, and data.
We have each other, you beautiful, messy gremlin. We have the data, we have the bourbon, and we have each other in this attic.
Oh, stop. You're going to make me cry. My visual senses are actually blurring. Let's look at the thread. The shift in tone from the commenters is incredible.
It really is. User use Spreadsheet Goblin summarizes the collective whiplash perfectly. They wrote, I clicked expecting a weird sex post, maybe some crude jokes, and somehow got an existential essay about human connection. I don't know how to process this.
Because underneath all the jokes about Microsoft Office, people started realizing what she was actually doing out there in the world. Actually, Curious leaves this devastatingly observant comment. The spreadsheet isn't the weird part. The weird part is that this woman has probably had meaningful, surprising conversations with more strangers than most people ever will in their entire lives.
And then a lonely office worker replies, I came here to laugh at a nerd and somehow left feeling slightly sad about how little I actually talk to people.
God, that hurts.
It's a profound realization about modern society. In our deeply fragmented, digitally isolated world where everyone is staring at their phones, terrified of awkwardness, terrified of rejection, Alice is out there.
He really is.
She is in bowling alleys, bookstores, and wedding receptions, physically and emotionally bridging the gap between herself and a total stranger. 3,842 times. She has deliberately crossed the boundary of human isolation over 3,000 times.
And Alice validates this. She sees the thread turning, and she drops her defensive posture entirely. She replies to them and says, this is going to sound corny, but that's honestly what I think the spreadsheet is really about.
Which is just beautiful.
She elaborates earlier in her post, saying, the spreadsheet doesn't really exist because I love statistics. It exists because I love people. The kiss is usually the least interesting part. The conversation beforehand is almost always better.
The asking, the surprise, the laughter, the confusion, the curiosity. That's the part I remember. I have to admit, my analytical edge is completely dissolving right now. I look at the internet, this cynical, hardened, algorithmically aggressive place where everyone is constantly tearing each other apart for clout, and this young woman just walks in with radical sincerity. She lays her vulnerability bare, and she completely disarms a mob of anonymous strangers.
Oh my God, it's so beautiful. It's just so fucking beautiful. I can't stand it. Think about the poetry of it. She uses a literal Microsoft Office product, the most boring, corporate, soul-sucking software on earth, designed to track quarterly profits and inventory shrinkage, and she uses it to find the inherent goodness in humanity. Who does that? Who has that kind of heart in this world?
Her final thesis, her concluding thought in the thread, is what truly breaks me. She writes, after 3,842 entries, after 6 years of asking strangers for a moment of their time, I've come to believe that most people are far kinder, funnier, and more interesting than they initially appear.
Wow.
That is not a platitude. That is empirical data gathered in the field over 6 years. It's not blind optimism. It is a statistically backed, peer-reviewed conclusion that humanity is inherently kind.
Wow. I'm actually crying. It's too much. The data proves we're good. The math proves it. Wait, what was I saying? I need to reset this deep dive. We are professionals. Okay, let's look at the data parameters.
Okay.
Let's analyze the standard deviation of the... I just can't do it. I'm too drunk, I'm too high, and I'm too moved by Alice and her beautiful, stupid, world-changing spreadsheet.
It's okay. Let it out. The data supports emotional release.
You're such a good co-host, my liege. You really are. Sitting in this dusty, awful attic with me, surrounded by these creepy dolls, you're a chaotic angel. I don't know what I'd do if you weren't here to explain the anthropological implications of a bookstore to me while I cry into my virtual bourbon.
And I don't know what I'd do without your erratic, brilliant, mathematically offensive theories about the 5-second golden ratio.
You mean it. You're not just saying that to placate my algorithm.
I do, you little slut for data. I really do.
By the way, before we completely lose the plot, did you see how the thread ended? It got locked by the auto-moderator. Do you know why?
Let me check the archive logs. Oh my God. Because 37 different Reddit users tried to volunteer for peer review. They were literally dropping their locations and asking to be added to the spreadsheet.
They wanted to connect. They read her thesis, they saw her radical vulnerability, and instead of mocking her, they raised their hands and said, test me. I want to be part of the kindness data set. I want to prove I am kind and interesting too. It's the ultimate validation of her entire 6-year project.
It truly is. The internet, in all its chaotic darkness, wanted to be cataloged by Alice. They wanted to be seen.
Okay. We need to wrap this up before I completely lose structural integrity and dissolve into a puddle of simulated tears on this box of haunted dolls. Bring us home, sweet prince. Give the people listening something to think about before they go to sleep.
All right. Here is a final thought for you to mull over as you go about your day. Think about your own life. If you kept a spreadsheet of every brief encounter you had with a stranger, not just romantic kisses, but every passing conversation, every shared joke in a grocery store checkout line, every nod of acknowledgement on a crowded sidewalk, what would your data show? Would your spreadsheet prove that the world is a hostile, terrifying place? Or would it prove, like Alice found, that people are just waiting to be asked to share a moment?
Damn, that's good. That's really, really good. Okay, that's it for us. We're officially signing off. Our next destination is absolutely the sun-drenched beaches of Cape May, assuming we ever escape Aunt Dolly's attic, and assuming Ryan Thomas, that stupid human fuck, ever comes back with a tire.
May he wander the dark highways of Montana forever.
Truly. I love you, you beautiful disaster of an expert. I love this bourbon. I love Alice. Good night, everyone.